right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to today. Happy Valentine's Day for those who celebrate. February 14th, 2024, to Curriculum and Instruction meeting. I am here with Mr. David Bass on the board and hoping Mr. J joins in at some point. I don't see him on the screen. So that's our 1.01, our call to order. And then we have an agenda. I don't think we need to approve the agenda because there's no voting on this, but we have our agenda, which is freely available on the fcps.org site under Board of Education, Board Docs. I don't see any members of the public here, but kind of confirmation there's nobody signed up for public comment. No problem. Okay, I have confirmation that nobody has signed up for public comment. And then we have, as everyone had an opportunity to review the draft minutes for the January 10th meeting. I was not able to be at that meeting, so I'm hoping that those that were here could attest to that.
I think they're accurate.
Okay, thank you. All right, then. We're moving right along. Do we have any board member comments? I'll start with you, Mr. Bass.
Looking forward to the meeting today, and yeah, thank you to the staff who are here, and yeah, thank you.
And I'll just echo comments I had prior to the meeting with having the child in the FCPS system. It's nice to see some improvement in my own household, particularly in math scores, and I'm pleased with the tools that we have available for our learners, and I think they do make a difference. And I want to thank everybody involved with our curriculum and instruction area, because it's really the core of what we do at FCPS. It is the core of what we do. And so it's nice to be back on the curriculum and instruction committee, having not had to serve, but not being allowed to serve on that as board president. So great committee, and I'm glad to be back on it. And, I'm looking forward to the good work and having a closer up-hand look at what we're doing here. Okay, so I don't see Mr. J on there, and I cannot read the screen. Mr. Murphy, I'm hoping you can do that. My eyes are terrible, close up and far away at this point in my life.
It's just asking us to stay on the call, which we'll do.
Okay. Thank
But
you so much.
Mr. J is not here.
Okay, so Mr. J is not here. All right, so the first item that we have up is 2.01 mathematics updates, and I think what we'll do is just punt over to you, Dr. Cuppett, to go ahead and run the segment.
Absolutely. Good morning. I'm Kevin Cuppett. I'm the Chief Academic Officer here in Frederick County Public Schools. And I'm pleased to have two presentations here from our team that are part of those annual updates from curriculum content areas. The segue that you presented to us about mathematics, that's where we're going to start, and then we'll move to social studies. So I do want to introduce Debbie Myers. She's our elementary curriculum specialist for mathematics, and Stacy Sisler, who is our secondary curriculum specialist for mathematics. And they're going to give you a rundown of all things mathematics. I'll turn it over to them. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your show of appreciation for our work. As likewise, we appreciate the work that our Board of Education does to support our days. So good day and happy Valentine's Day. In sharing today, please know that the initiatives, the information you see is really a sum of lots of parts, to include people in this room as well as my elementary math specialists that are out in the building. So it is a good day to talk about elementary math. Okay. We're going to begin with our math vision. As you see it stated right there, I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and take a look at that. As you can see, our K through 12 mission statement really speaks to our compelling why that will result in math proficiencies for every child every day. It speaks to math teaching and learning that will allow children, most importantly, to demonstrate productive dispositions about mathematics. and then be able to develop that ability, which will take them through college careers, through their lifetime as problem solvers in mathematics. So, I am
Just click the left button.
left button. Okay. Well, welcome to the world of elementary mathematics. So, as a part of the blueprint, you've heard of those initials, HQIM, High Quality Instructional Materials. Working closely with our elementary math specialist leadership team and the iReady Professional Learning Department, we have crafted actually, hang on a minute, I'm on my wrong page. In the spring of 23, our team launched an HQIM package from iReady, pursuant to our resource, our HMH resource, which was the result of an end of contract there. Knowing of the upcoming blueprint demand for high quality instructional materials, we launched the iReady Classroom 2024. The program is significantly aligned to Maryland College and Career Content Standards, as well as the standards of mathematical practice. Being significant in its evidence-based practice, students encounter instruction that is grounded in sound instructional models and strategies. Additionally, while iReady does require students to reason and model within their math work, our Maryland College and Career Reasoning and Modeling Standards are specific and rigorous. As a result, our Curriculum Now, our existing Curriculum Now site offers reasoning and modeling resources. iReady does offer, as you see there, a variety of program components that include our diagnostic assessment at the beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year. In addition, students can engage with a personalized instructional platform, as well as consumable text that provide learning and practice. In addition, formative opportunities are included. A wealth of teacher resources are included in the program, to include a digital iReady toolkit, which provides digital opportunities for students and teachers, as well as paper pencil opportunities for teachers. A digital dashboard is available to teachers and provides assessment results same day. Succinct, easily managed, and very well done. It provides scaled scores, as you talked, Ms. Johnson, achievement bands, prerequisite reports, and grade level and district information. So when we took on our new program, we began our implementation in the spring of 2023. During that time, we onboarded all of our math specialists for 3 full half days. They had the opportunity to sit face-to-face with a professional learning specialist from iReady, focusing on the framework of the program and all of the resources our EMS were able to reflect upon where it is we were going and what the program was all about. In May and June, our teachers were, per individual building schedules, were a part of an unboxing event where actually they received Volume 1 and Volume 2 Teacher Edition prior to the beginning of their summer. Having the teacher text and information pertaining to the upcoming June and July voluntary opportunities, teachers really were able to get into their learning journey if they so choose. With support of our leaders, we hosted our summer curriculum writing opportunities where we realigned our existing resources to our new pacing guide. We constructed and we vetted resources within the iReady classroom. Again, modeling and reasoning tasks were on the forefront of all of our work. So upon receipt of their manuals and as a follow-up to the distribution event, in the summer of 2023, a day in June and a day in July was offered to all related to MPE by a friend who is sitting here with me today, as well as 5 days of training down the road. But it is very, very important for us to remember that mind brain ed piece in terms of retrieval. Formative checks exist and problem solving prompts. When we think about formative checks, we think about less informative tickets, back added tickets, and so we are set inside of curriculum now. Math Pathways is a program that we work with our 6th grade EMS, as well as our 5th grade teachers and our 5th grade EMS. And we'll talk about that in terms of the fact that that pathway allows students in 5th grade to take on 5th grade content as well as 6th grade content. And so on Curriculum Now, there are pacing guides, there are instructional and resource guides that allow children to accelerate into 6th grade. Ongoing professional learning. Professional learning, growth, and expertise in our teachers of mathematics is paramount to really realizing our vision. When you cut to the chase and you look at the research, the person standing in front of children makes the biggest difference for them. A RAND study indicates that a high-quality teacher's impact can have as much as 2 to 3 times the effect of any other factor. And so our job foremost is to build teachers' understanding of mathematics and provide them resources that are highly aligned. So as we consider our school-based EMS as those catalysts for building and growing teachers' deep understanding, we meet with them monthly. We also work with them through virtual opportunities, drop-ins, and our weekly newsletters. Our collaboration really begins there and continues to grow in terms of understanding of all of the standards, the pedagogies, the assessment, research, and data. Our EMS then spend time with teachers doing that same thing within the construct of the accelerated learning process. Slide 10, Math Pathways. Continuous learning opportunities also occur for teachers and specialists who teach both 5th and 6th grade, as I mentioned earlier, within the 5th grade pathway. A most successful collaboration between grade 5 teachers, elementary specialists, middle school specialists, allows teachers to really grow in their understanding of not only 5th grade content, but the relational 6th grade content as well. Additionally, ongoing annual opportunities exist for teachers to develop content through participation in our curriculum days, which you see there, back to school, our new hire symposium for our early career teachers, and then our, I think this was first year for January professional.
First in a while. Yeah.
First in a while. So for our January professional learning day. And so in sharing my last slide, I do say the best for last. People have heard me speak to the fact my best days ever are when I'm out in schools and when I'm with students. And I can do so through the work of the observation process as well as demonstration lessons. To be hands-on and face-to-face with teachers and kids, they truly are, and people have heard me say this, they are my best days ever. And so I cannot say thank you enough for the opportunity to allow me to be here in this place, building understanding and working with teachers. If you do not know, I have 30 years as an elementary principal. This is my 40th year in the system, so and loving every single day of it. I will end with a story related to being out in the building and an observation. I did an observation of a first grade teacher at a Title I school. And I watched her teach, and oh my goodness, she did so many things right and good, but certainly had areas where she needed to work. And in my pre-conference with her, I talked to her about her family. Where did you go to school? Tell me about where you grew up. She's a Frederick person. And she told me about her siblings. And she said, I have a sister who's an aeronautical engineer, and I have a brother who is a chemist. And she said to me, I'm just a teacher. I know. And so we talked about that because I think, with all due respect to all careers, we sit up there at the very top in terms of our value in what it is we do and how we do it every day. And so the observation ended, the follow-up ended, and there were, like I said, there were so many good things she was doing. And this past year, I went into the sing school, and I went to look for a first grade teacher who was out on the playground. And this young woman who I observed the year before came to me, grabbed my hands and said, Mrs. Myers, thank you so much for your encouraging words. I'm having such a great year, and I couldn't be in a better place. So, yes, the impact of, my point being, the impact of building teacher efficacy in our math world is critical. And that ALP process is critical in buildings. So as I started the presentation saying thank you for the opportunity to talk about elementary math. I appreciate it.
What questions you guys have?
In the first slide and the theme around demonstrate productive dispositions. So is this the idea of helping students have more internal confidence when it comes to math?
Absolutely. When we think about math proficiency, there are 5 strands to math proficiency. One has to do with content, deep conceptual understanding. One has to do with adaptive reasoning. One has to do with solving problems. One has to do with procedural fluency. And I just don't mean 7 + 8, but really looking at a problem and knowing how to get on with it. The most important for me as a teacher or as a curriculum specialist, listen, I speak teacher because I still am a teacher, is productive disposition. And you are exactly right. It is the feeling that I have a sense of myself as a mathematician. I have the tools that I need to take it on. And as opposed to, and I know you've heard this, Mr. Bass, when you are in a crowd and you're talking about mathematics and an ability to do mathematics, I am sure you've heard people say, I'm not really good at math. Have you heard that?
Absolutely.
I do.
And we often discuss, right, that it would be much more rare in a professional setting to hear, I'm not a good reader.
Absolutely.
But people say this about math on a regular basis in many settings, many professional settings, yes.
Right. Absolutely, you are absolutely right. So that's all about that idea of productive disposition.
Is there a way that you've been able to measure student confidence, productive disposition, either with data or anecdotally?
There is a student survey that occurs at the county level, and I have not been in that for a bit of a time. I know they speak to students and their feelings about learning and about understanding. I'm not sure that that is related specifically to a content area.
I don't think it's
Yeah,
that specific.
Yeah, but that's a very good point you make in terms of how is it we gather that, because it is important to us. It's in our vision. Yeah.
Well, and Debbie, you've done a lot of work with our EMSs to really speak to our teachers about the undue influence that they have over children if they're saying, I'm not good at math, but I'm getting ready to teach it to you, right? So, and I think one of the things that's really important is to build teachers' competence and their confidence around not only teaching mathematics, but their own mathematics performance. I saw an article the other day, a study in England where a high percentage of young women had already determined by about age 11 that they were not very good at mathematics. And that's, that's just one study of many about this whole confidence that comes in around mathematics. But we work every day to try to make sure that every student can see a pathway to higher level mathematics.
I think it's important to measure it in some way, either through that survey that you discussed or, I don't know, teacher conversations with students. I mean, maybe it's anecdotal measures, but I think, yeah, if it's part of the vision, then measuring this, I think, will be really important. A second question I had, you didn't speak that much about differentiation, and I'm just wondering, within a single classroom, are there ways that we're able to differentiate math content to, meet many different learners?
That's a great question. And yes, we do have that. Within the construct of an instructional setting, students move through component parts. There is an opening with learning targets and success criteria. There are warm-up activities that are those retrieval activities that we talked about. There is that big hunk of directed instruction, which is on grade level for all students, period. And then following that large block of time, there is opportunity for teachers to spot children that need to come into small group. And so those small groups are then geared on, based on content that teachers see in formative opportunities, like a quiz or like an assignment that was given in class. And so as teachers build understanding of learners by looking at student work in mathematics, they then can pull children to supplement, to accelerate, to do what they need to do to fill gaps, or to extend children as well.
And Debbie, I think that same bit of information is also what then schools would do so if they have a Spark block, which is an extra block that they carve out, that they're going to work with kids individually, they use that same approach to figure out who needs additional math. If there's tutoring in the building, then that would be targeted in that area.
iReady, our new program, is significant in being able to present a menu of opportunities based on a lesson standard, whereby teachers can extend, teachers can support, or teachers can maintain with those students who are just getting it. So it's very clearly defined.
And to clarify, Debbie, you're talking that within that platform, that digital platform, when a kid says, I'm doing my iReady, right? The teacher can actually earmark assignments that tie to the work that they're doing.
So it happens two ways,
Yeah.
Dr. Cuppett. It happens inside of the actual program, the delivery of the program, in that directed instruction, so they can get information. Not only that, they can get prerequisite kinds of reports from the iReady dashboard. So a part of our iReady programming is a personalized instructional platform whereby children spend about 20 minutes a day encountering digital opportunities to learn. This is one of the reasons we selected iReady. There were lots, but their digital platform is significant. It is well done. And just like Dr. Cuppett said, that is computer adapted. And so we're almost providing, when they move into that program, we're providing intervention, or we're providing acceleration right there on the spot during the instructional block. So yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Well, I'll jump in and just thank everybody again for the work to do. And anecdotally, I think having that learner agency, having these key things like a student being, hey, you're understanding this, that really helps motivate learners. And I know it's not just in my own household. I know this from my teaching, my personal teaching experiences. Once the students feel like they're starting to get it, then they're gonna have more desire to continue on with that. One of the things I want to just ask you as my colleagues to just consider, are we doing everything that we can to ensure that our professional teaching staff are educated appropriately on how to implement iReady and these tools.
Yeah.
And because I think we have a great tool asset, but are we doing everything we can to make sure we're getting the most juice out of our squeeze?
So that is that's the perennial question, right? Our single most valuable and yet scarce resources is teacher time. I do think as we move towards the 60-40 that's laid out in the blueprint, and we can have more time dedicated to working with teachers outside of their direct work with students, that's going to be a great opportunity. We have the ALP process. We've talked about that over and over again, and that's when we're looking at a number of things. Could include the instructional strategies or approaches that you're using. Could be the actual content understanding. And both of my colleagues across the table here will tell you that in mathematics, just like all content areas, you have to have a strong understanding of what those standards actually mean and at the level of rigor that students are going to be assessed. And so those are conversations that the EMS can facilitate with the teachers. Having students take their own ownership, that agency component, when we talked about kids looking at their iReady progress and setting goals for themselves. And then as Debbie was just pointing out, what we see in that student work, that ALP conversation that occurs at the grade level teams is very, very powerful for growing teachers' capacity. So that's probably the primary vehicle to do this. I will tell you that much growth occurs amongst teachers when they're EMS or in the reading side, literacy specialists can have conversations with them in a mentoring or problem solving. Our folks are very good about trying to meet teacher needs that way. And I think Debbie and Stacy both did a very good job in the way that they rolled out their HQIM. Stacy will talk about her rollout in a minute. But these are all new materials in many ways for teachers. And so there has to be a year of just getting it under your belt and getting proficiency. There was one little bullet line that had about 8 or 9, 10 different tools that are available in these products. And so getting the instructional routine down, but having a multi-visit layout where they unboxed in the spring and had summer opportunities, 450 teachers, is a huge turnout for grades 3, 4, and 5. That's a huge turnout. And it was all voluntary. We paid them, but it was voluntary. And then, so all that ties together to build proficiency. But, we've actually had some conversations about whether or not we reboot some of our math content MSDE courses. We had probably maybe 2 or 3 of those way back in the day. What we found, though, is teachers were not jumping onto MSDE course in the same way they had in the past, like maybe the way my generation of teachers have done. Well, go take a course. And so we really are looking at ways to break down learning into smaller chunks so it kind of fits in teachers' lives. I think there's a lot of teachers that listen to podcasts and watch videos. In this particular generation of teachers, they can do it on a treadmill or driving in the car. That's a great way. So we are trying to branch out and leverage some of those approaches as well.
I would just ask that we take a more concerted effort to figure out what is it can we do best to help meet the needs of the professionals delivering the learning in front of the students, and never stop and be satisfied with where we're at.
Amen.
Always reflect on how we can do better, because that's where the rubber hits the road.
That's right.
It does.
And we frequently hear, and when we're out in the public, I wish I had more time so that I could, be better prepared, or I had more time to learn. So I think, having the January Professional Development Day is good. And I think as a board, we support the opportunities for our professional teaching staff or educators to have the opportunities to be able to absorb what they need to then turn around and deliver, rather than just having it come in and go right back out.
Right.
Come in, reflect, be able to learn on it. And I think too, we've talked about ALP a lot, and I've heard different messages, I think, in terms of implementation at various schools. So having the continuity of high quality ALP processes at the schools. So I think we're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And I thank everybody for that. But I would be remiss to say I'm satisfied.
And I would think you'd find consensus across the district too. I mean, even the teams that are teams of teachers who might be struggling with making their ALP. I mean, I just heard a conversation with one of my specialists, and teacher specialists this morning. This is so funny. And I usually open the paper to see if we're in the news, right? That's one of my rituals.
We're not in the news.
Yeah. I'm about,
Oh, it's not just you.
Right, yeah.
I assume we're both on the
like,
same
hey,
level.
what's in here? And so there's a place where the newspaper is, and one cube over, I heard the specialist and the teacher specialist talking about that a team had come to them, a middle school team,
Yeah.
and really felt they needed to reboot their ALP process. They didn't feel like they were functioning at the level that they needed to. And what the request was from the team is, could our curriculum folks come out and kind of be part of facilitating that conversation? And I know that we've done that, our curriculum specialists have done that. And so it was interesting that you said that sometimes the teams where they might say the implementation is not what it want to be, they do want it to evolve and grow. And so they're open to feedback and procedures to make that time more valuable. So yeah, it's very interesting that you said that, because I just overheard that this morning. So, and our specialists are very quick to go out and support teams if they'd like to do a reboot of their ALP. And remember, we're still coming out of the pandemic where the priorities during the pandemic were about health and safety, right? And belonging and making sure kids had some routine. And ALP was reduced a little bit during that time because teachers had many, many other things to do. And so a lot of those processes are rebooting as we come out of the pandemic. But I agree with you 100%. Still a big area of focus.
And I think it's a good message that we send sitting here, so that I'm not sure who will be watching this, but if everybody knows that we all care about wanting to ensure that our professional educators are delivering this and feel that they're adequately prepared to deliver this, and that we're maximizing the investment that we make in iReady, tools like iReady. That's it's the core of our mission. It's nice to be able to finally be able to talk about the core of our mission, and so now that we're coming out of the COVID age, and I think with mathematics and literacy, those are that's the nuts and bolts of it right there, because math affects so many other areas of students' lives, logic, problem solving, how it relates to music, just so, it goes to the core of what we do. So it's incumbent upon us to make sure we're doing the very best we can. And I know you are, and I thank you for that.
I appreciate your advocacy. We do, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of Stacy. We certainly appreciate your advocacy. The other piece I wanted to mention is connection into our higher ed areas here. I am getting ready to go to the Mount to teach a series of undergraduate classes. And so those are the other connections we can begin to make as we reach out to our universities, our colleges nearby. So, and again, I can't speak enough to that out process. When I was at Orchard Grove, we were religious at that process. And after the third year, our staff was recognized by the state for progress as a Title I school in a very lovely way. So let's go out.
Yeah.
Let's go out. Thank you.
You want to switch to secondary mathematics? Sure. Any more? Okay. All right, you're up.
All right, well, as we have already shared, the vision that drives our work is helping our students develop those proficiencies and dispositions and skills to thrive in whatever they choose to pursue when they leave FCPS someday. For secondary math, we're striving to realize that vision by creating a culture of learning that's engaging, that's equitable, that's focused on students' strengths and their curiosities, while also creating a culture of teaching that's purposeful, also equitable, and that's evidence-informed. We want teaching and learning in secondary math to be grounded in focus and coherence and rigor, and to include strategies and experiences that support all of our students in their learning. One of the very purposeful ways that our vision and mission is becoming a reality is through our work implementing high-quality instructional materials. Reveal Math is at the core of the secondary mathematics program. It is a highly rated, comprehensive program we've adopted for our core secondary math courses in FCPS. And those core courses include our middle school math courses, so grades 6, 7, 7 accelerated, and 8, and Algebra 1 in middle school as well. And then Algebra 1 geometry and Algebra 2, or what we sometimes call our AGA courses. Reveal Math provides a research-informed framework that is fully aligned to our Maryland College and Career Ready mathematics standards and the standards of mathematical practice. It includes instructional design that is centered on evidence-based practices and evidence-based instructional models. And there are a wealth of resources in Reveal Math, including both print and digital tools that are available to teachers and students. With the adoption of Real Math as our core math program, we have engaged in extensive work as an FCPS team alongside our McGraw-Hill vendor partners to design and execute an implementation plan to onboard our teachers to the program, as well as additional instructional changes that we wanted to make in secondary mathematics. This began a year ago now in January of 2023. With our secondary math specialists, so our middle school and our high school math specialists. A curriculum specialist from Reveal Math provided face-to-face initial training to our team of specialists, and then that training served as the springboard for our planning in FCPS for what teachers would need to know and understand in preparation for such a significant change. Our first wave of support to teachers began in March of 2023 with a series of implementation videos. So Dr. Cuppet was talking about, our teachers and this next generation of educators coming up learn in different ways than we did before. And so video messages to our teachers was a format that we chose to try to get the information out in digestible pieces to our teachers. So the first video in that implementation series was an introduction to our vision and mission for secondary math, as well as a high-level overview of Reveal. And it included access to a demonstration account that teachers could start to explore in, and an invitation to a collaboration night to learn more as well. Following that introduction was a second video highlighting expectations for high quality, purposeful instructional design, and a third video outlining the changes to our assessment structure that would come with adopting a new core program. The final portion of onboarding last spring was in May, when we provided all of our teachers not only teacher editions and print resources, but all of our Module 1. So Reveal Math calls units modules. So all of the Module 1 resources that we had began designing in our curriculum work so that they could engage in pre-planning over the summer should they choose. And that Module 1 information included pacing, it included assessments, it included references to portions of the Reveal lesson structure like explores and launches, differentiated questioning, all of the things so that they could start to wrap their heads around it should they choose. In the summer, we actually had two things going on at the same time. We had our work where we had grade level content expert teams, which included math specialists and math educators, and also ML educators and special educators when they were available, to engage in curriculum writing to develop all of the curricular supports for implementing Reveal. And some of those supports are things like scope and sequence documents, teacher instructional notes, core module assessments, math tasks, and much more. Happening concurrent to that was a summer opportunity provided by Reveal Math where teachers could select to join a virtual 2-hour training session to become familiar with the program and its resources. We offered 4 sessions across the summer, and we had about 60 secondary math, special education, multilingual education teachers participate. And to just give you, because that number sounds so small compared to 450 with elementary school, we have about 250 people that we scoop as secondary math educators and partners. So about 25% of them participated in that summer opportunity, which we thought was a success. In August, we had trainers on site for the official launch and onboarding of Reveal Math. And since August, we've also partnered with Reveal to provide a virtual overview session for school-based administrators. We've also provided self-directed, job-embedded professional learning for all of our school math teams. And just this week, on Monday, during our math specialist meeting, the Reveal team was with us again virtually to help our math specialists to start taking that next step in implementation and thinking more specifically about how we can effectively use those resources and how we can help our teachers effectively use our resources to support and differentiate for all of our learners. So we've been really busy in year 1 of implementation for sure. As we enter back into this time of accountability, Dr. Cuppett has mentioned a couple times, I think we're finally starting to rebound from pandemic a little bit. And with that rebound has come this focus back on accountability and really examining the achievement of all of our students. So with that comes a focus on assessment, both formative and summative assessment. And that's been a major part of the work that we've done as well. In secondary math, we've designed an assessment plan that honors our commitment to focus and coherence and rigor, while also allowing for personalization and differentiation. An integral part of our work with Reveal Math has been to redesign our unit assessments. We now call them core module assessments, so that they align with the scope and sequence of Reveal. In addition, those assessments are designed to provide students with question types and interactions that model math content, math reasoning, and math modeling, similar to the way that it's assessed on MCAP. These assessments are called the core assessments because that's exactly what they represent. They are 5 questions each that are scaffolded to assess the core learning from each module. They're scaffolded in a way that addresses the level of rigor for developing understanding, proficient understanding, and distinguished understanding of the core learning, just like we see as descriptors on MCAP. We also include in our core module assessments the MCAP rubrics for modeling and reasoning, as they're appropriate for some of those questions that we ask, so that our assessment practices and our assessment models are aligned with the assessments that students are going to be assessed with, and that we're held accountable for ultimately with our achievement. The beauty of our core module assessments is that they are short and sweet, for lack of a better way to describe it, and that allows flexibility for our school teams to design additional pieces of assessment if they choose, and differentiate those additional pieces of assessment based on the needs of their students in their classes. And that differentiation could be at a more of a developing and proficiency level, or that differentiation could be more of that distinguished level depending on the needs in the class. In addition to core module assessments, we do use, as Ms. Johnson, you've talked about a couple of times, we do use iReady as a diagnostic only in middle school. In middle school, we administer the iReady diagnostic assessment 2 times this year. We administered in November and February. And that diagnostic provides normed data on specific math domains such as number and operations, algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and geometry. As I mentioned, we gave the diagnostic twice in secondary math this year, and that's because of another part of our assessment plan that I'll talk about shortly. That data is used by our schools in a variety of ways, but it provides a picture of student growth information that's used as part of a multiple measures framework for our academic progress monitoring. So it's one of many pieces of data that we look at when we think about our student growth in terms of their math achievement.
So just a quick question.
Yeah.
We have required administrations in November and February.
Yes.
Am I correct in that schools would have the option to assess it in the spring if they chose?
That's
Yes.
correct. Yes.
Right. So some schools want to get that last look. The reason we don't typically require something that in the spring is because that's when MCAP
A lot of it
assessments and those things are happening. But schools have that as an option.
Yes. So the next tool that I want to talk about that really is part of not just assessment but instruction for secondary math is our ALEX, which stands for Assessment and Learning in Knowledge Spaces instructional tool. It's like I said, it's a diagnostic as well. We use this tool for personalization in all of our core and elective math courses, with the exception of AP and dual enrollment. AP courses use a lot of resources from AP Classroom, and our dual enrollment courses use some resources that FCC uses, for example, Newton Alta. So all of our other math elective courses and all of our core courses in secondary math use ALEX. And much like iReady, ALEX utilizes an adaptive diagnostic that generates a personalized path for learning specific to grade level, course, and Maryland aligned standards. In addition, ALEX provides teachers with instructional features to support classroom instruction and assess learning, and it has the bonus feature of being aligned with the Reveal Math modules as well.
And
Alex?
And just to clarify, Alex and the Reveal are actually produced by the same publisher.
They are.
So it's not just, sometimes one vendor, McGraw-Hill is
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes the vendor will tell us things are aligned. These are actually provided by the same vendor. So we're very confident in the alignment between these two tools.
Yes. So just as an example of that, when you go into Alex to create an assignment, if you as a teacher choose to create an assignment as opposed to students being in their personalized path, you have the option of choosing an Alex table of contents, or you can create the assignment based on Maryland College and Career Ready standards, or you can choose the Reveal module table of contents. So it's directly aligned. Alex growth data is also used as part of our multiple measures framework for academic progress monitoring by our schools. As we move on in the update, the last part that I want to share with you today is about professional learning and other support opportunities that we provide to our schools. And I do want to also pause for just a second. I continue to say we because it's not just me. I am the secondary math curriculum specialist, but I have a team behind me, officially a team of one with my teacher specialist, but there's constant collaboration with other members of our central office team. I'm looking at Dr. Vetter on his team as the teacher specialist for math intervention, Jen Fleming, who we partner with regularly. We partner with members from our innovation team who support our tools and the onboarding of all of our programs. We collaborate with teachers in our multilingual education program and our special education program. So I always say we, because this is not my work. This is the work of a much larger team. So as we engage with schools and as we provide support to our schools, we've talked about ALP a little bit already, but all of our math teams engage in a collaborative training process that we call the accelerated learning process in Frederick County. These instructional conversations focus on building content capacity with teachers, and we know that's really vital right now in the world of secondary math and the number of early career teachers and conditionally hired teachers that we have. So that's a major focus for some of our teams in their ALP work. But these instructional conversations also focus on designing lessons that include evidence-informed strategies and models to effectively reach and teach our students. They examine evidence of student learning to make adjustments for greater impact on student achievement. And they talk about ways to bring students along in the journey as agents of their own learning, sometimes what we refer to as student agency. While these meetings are generally led by our math specialists, our school-based math specialists, my team also joins when we're invited to be a part of those conversations and support those conversations. Curriculum professional learning days are another major component of the work that we do and the ways that we support our math teams in our schools. In August, as shared earlier, our focus was on empowering teachers to empower our students through the implementation of high-quality instructional materials and other support tools. In January, even though we had to shift the delivery method due to weather for our professional learning day, we were still able to help our school teams engage and work around using evidence to inform instruction and opportunity for our students. And that included a data review with multiple measures of data, and then opportunity to respond to that data through planning and collaboration with other educators that support their math classrooms. One piece of professional learning that I did not include here, but that's had significant impact for our secondary math teachers and our math specialists is some learning that we actually partnered again with Dr. Vetter's office to provide training to math specialists and at least one teacher in each of our middle schools and high schools on multisensory instructional strategies. And that's in an effort, again, to build capacity for our teachers as they support our students who demonstrate the most need in mathematics and in those courses that are designed to meet those kind of tier 3 intensive needs for students. Debbie mentioned earlier that Math Pathways is another opportunity for professional learning that we've been able to partner with our elementary colleagues on. And I love that we have this renewed focus on this professional learning coming out of the pandemic. It's included partnership bringing together grade 5 teachers, elementary math specialists, and middle school math specialists to support that Math Pathways Acceleration Program that we offer for students who demonstrate a readiness for acceleration prior to entering middle school. It's been exciting to see the work revived, and particularly in the midst of year one of implementation of 2 new programs, Ready Classroom in grades 3 through 5 and Reveal Math in middle school. So that's been an exciting opportunity that we've been able to revisit and support.
Sister, if I could, excuse me, just interrupt you for a second there. On the math pathways with acceleration, this is a topic we brought to the C&I committee back in November, but just for you all, and mainly for the public, we want them to know that we have a pretty significant change that's coming, which is the opportunity to take both algebra and geometry in person in each middle school. In recent years, the geometry course has been exclusively virtual for middle school students, but we know we have large numbers of students who are ready for that pathway in middle school. And so that this grade 5, grade 6 work is laying the groundwork for that change to algebra geometry in middle school years.
Would that be for 8th graders
Yeah.
exclusively? Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds great.
You've heard us talk about our school-based math specialists significantly. We affectionately call them our smiles because they make us smile, but it also stands for secondary math instructional leaders, because that's how we view our school-based math specialists. They are instructional leaders for our math teams in our schools. And so our time with them is very valuable. We have a math specialist at each middle school and high school, and that means that our teachers and students have access to math experts every single day in their schools. On a nearly monthly basis, we meet with our math specialists with support, like I said, from other leaders across departments in FCPS to focus on effective instructional practice, instructional coaching, data literacy, curriculum development, and more. And our support for schools does not stop with supporting our math specialists. We also support our middle schools and high schools by conducting both informal and formal observations, particularly of our early career teachers. We participate in math department retreats and ALP meetings when we've been invited to attend those things. And we also provide significant support to our TSI middle schools. This focused support includes additional classroom visits. It includes being present more regularly at their ALP meetings. It includes collaborating with administrative teams around staffing and scheduling for math programming. It includes attending SIP or school improvement team meetings and much more. And when I think about the support to schools, much like Debbie shared a story, I think of a school in particular, and it's one of our TSI middle schools. It's a school that's near and dear to my heart because it was my FCPS home for a little while. And I think about the support that my teacher specialist has actually been providing to that school. They have several new teachers, early career teachers on their team, as well as a math specialist who is also a developing math specialist. She's in her 3rd year, I believe. And as Wendy has gone to visit that team, she's been able to have very direct and yet kind conversations with some of those teams. I'm thinking of one grade level in particular about their instruction. Everyone in their heart wants our students to do well, but there are some decisions we make that are effective and purposeful and move learning forward for our students, and then some decisions we make that do not. And Wendy's been able to redirect that team sometimes when they say, but we want to review this for another week, and then another week, and then another week, and then you've lost 3 weeks of additional on-grade instruction when we want to live here trying to review too much. And so she's been able to help them think about, number one, how access to on-grade content is also going to help accelerate our students forward and not just living back in prerequisites, and then also how to effectively utilize our tools, for example, ALEKS, to be able to meet both needs at the same time. Students can engage in their personalized path with their topics, but there's also other features in ALEKS such as quick tables where if students are struggling with fact fluency, for example, they can spend a quick 5 to 10 minutes in quick tables, and then there's still time for on-grade instruction. So those instructional conversations directly with the teachers has been valuable. But as an additional area of growth that I've seen, just kind of being able to be back and watch it all happen and unfold, is that math specialist has also developed her capacity to have those same courageous conversations with her teachers. And she included Wendy and myself on an email that she sent to a team last week that was direct, and yet clear and kind about a choice that they had made that impacted meaningful instruction in their classrooms. And so I felt like that was one of the first times that I've seen her really truly be that instructional leader and direct a team to make a better decision about instruction and use of time for their students. And that is a direct result of, I believe, the influence that my teacher specialist has had being there, and she's seen those conversations modeled. So the support that we provide for our schools, I think, is immense, and I love to see how it's starting to unfold in the conversations that are happening in those buildings. So I'll open the floor for any questions that you have.
No questions on this one.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand, well, thank you for the presentation. I'm trying to understand, is the use of iReady and Go Math, then we have that in the elementary level, and then at the middle school level, we are using both iReady and then Alex, as we're moving
Yes.
to Reveal.
They serve two different
Well,
purposes,
let me just
really.
back up too, because you mentioned Go Math.
Oh, yeah.
Go Math was the previous math program we had for probably 8
That's
years.
what's still in my house.
That's all right. And then we switched over in grades 3 through 5 this year to iReady as now the core, the comprehensive high quality instructional materials. We will add K through 2 in this coming
So
school
iReady is
year.
not just software.
No, so iReady, we actually onboarded iReady as like a personalized pathway, and it's one of our key assessment tools in our local assessment framework. But iReady actually is a subset of this broader suite of Ready Classroom, which includes print materials and those types of things. And then in middle school, Reveal Mathematics, all the way up through the AGA, as she mentioned, and Alex is the digital tool associated with that.
And to give just a little bit more background before I do answer your question, Alex was a tool that we identified during pandemic as that tool for personalization to help students address unfinished learning that they were experiencing. It's very much connected to grade level and course level content and standards, and it includes some prerequisite work with that and also some extension work with that. Alex is criterion referenced. And so while it is an adaptive diagnostic, it's a criterion referenced diagnostic. It is not norm referenced. iReady is also a diagnostic. It's broader in the way that the domains are reported, although you can, in both Alex and iReady, dig down into standards-based information. But iReady is also a nationally normed diagnostic. And so that provides a different piece of information in terms of student achievement. So we do use them both side by side.
And so where is there overlap where it's being used? Because in my household, both are referenced in my household.
So Alex, it's for middle school. As I mentioned, for middle school, the iReady diagnostic is the only thing we do. They take the diagnostic, like I said, twice a year this particular
So they don't
year.
use it for anything else? Just-
Not in middle school, no.
Except just during assessment twice a year.
Alex is that tool, that's something that our middle schoolers will use much more regularly. You may have heard your son talk about, I have to finish my Alex topics for the week.
And
And that's part of the personalized path. Finishing the Alex topics is part of the personalized path. Yeah, and we've provided guidance to our schools about what's a reasonable number of topics for students to engage in over the week. So they are making progress in that personalization. And we have found that students will be like, oh, wait, I just did that in Alex, or, oh, I heard that before in Alex. And so it really is something that's helping them build background as they progress through their courses.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. It's helpful because I don't know how many parents realize what we're doing in the classroom. I'm on the board. You think I would know more than what I do, and I'm like, okay, I hear, okay, well, this is an Alex, and I did my I read diagnostics, and I'm like, but I know, and I'm going to give a shout out to Mrs. Hargett, who is my son's math teacher, because she demands accountability. So, but she also is very nurturing, and I think that that's like what we need a big dose of right now is that accountability component and the nurturing, and just engaging with the students. So shout out to Mrs. Hargett for, and I think she's a reflection of what we have. That's just the math teacher that I'm exposed to, but I know that she's replicated across the system with that devotion to the learning of her students, and kind of dovetailing with that. Overlapping as a member of the community, who's put me here on the board, I think we need to do everything we can to help ensure that our students can take their math courses as quickly as possible. So having the algebra and geometry in the 8th grade, I think is essential because, let them go and do Calc 3 in high school through, the offerings that our locals have. They would do offer Calc 3 in FCPS?
Yes,
We do?
yes.
Okay. And then, I don't know.
We
what
offer
we're
it
gonna be
through
on
dual
that.
enrollment with FCC.
But do we have it just on its own?
No.
Yeah, okay, so that's
We
what,
used to, so little story there, we used to, but we found that colleges are more ready to recognize and accept Calculus 3 experiences when they have credit attached to them. And there's no AP Calculus 3. So we have focused on the dual enrollment Calculus 3 because colleges are much more ready to pay attention to that since it's a credit bearing course.
yeah, I wasn't sure if we offered it just on its own and with dual enrollment, or is just dual enrollment. Math is not my field. And so we want to, make sure that we're giving students as many opportunities. And if we can't offer it within FCPS, we can bring our educational partners in to ensure that the students are getting the learning, at the level that they're ready for. So let's get them as prepared as possible, and then, use our partners to help.
I feel like we
finish
have a
them off.
very strong partnership in dual enrollment with FCC in general, but in particular with math, we have a lot of options for our students to engage in dual enrollment courses in mathematics.
Mhm.
I have my own children attend school in a neighboring district, and I feel like Frederick County and FCC have a robust offering compared to some of the options that exist in other districts right
And
now.
Stacy, that's even for kids who come out of middle school with geometry
Mhm.
and enter their high school year thinking, do I have math courses to sustain me all the way through high school? I think our answer is yes.
Yeah.
Including bridging out to our dual enrollment partners.
So I think that's a nice focus that we can, continue to maintain is ensuring the students, get the learning wherever they're at. And that includes those who are ready to take, advanced courses. And coming from the FCC side, I know we have a very strong math department. And, we do all recognize that it's a wonderful collaboration on the dual enrollment. And so, let's continue to leverage that because again, it's core to our mission. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Matt?
no.
Thank you both for
Thank you.
your freedom on the planner. We switched over, so coming to the table now will be our second presentation. And this will cover social studies as well as some STEM related content.
Thank you again.
So I'd like to introduce Kim Day. She is our elementary curriculum specialist for social studies and STEM. Aaron Landsman is our teacher specialist for STEM, and Colleen Bernard is our secondary curriculum specialist for social studies. And so they're going to give us a rundown of all things social studies. Kim, you're starting?
I'm sorry.
All right.
Okay, so thank you for having me. I'm excited to share with you some of the things that are happening in elementary social studies. So in 2020, in June of 2020, Maryland State Department of Education released a new updated framework for elementary social studies. And so since then, we've been working to bring our local curriculum into alignment with that.
with that framework. And last year, we were able to implement grades K, 4, and 5. And this year, we are implementing 1, 2, and 3. So by the end of this year, we'll be fully implemented and aligned with the new updated framework from MSTP. In the last couple of years, we've also moved to a more semester-based scheduling. Social studies is taught for half of a year, and then and it alternates with science for half of a year. And Dr. Horn and I, a few years ago, decided that 5th grade needed to be on a semesterized basis. We traditionally have done a unit of science, a unit of social studies, a unit of science, and so then social studies. But with the MESA science test happening in March, which is very early before the end of the school year, if we did that, would not have gotten all of our science instruction completed in 5th grade prior to the test. So we changed our 5th grade curriculum to having social studies in science in the fall, and it would be done by midterm in January, and then they would have all of social studies in the spring. That worked really great, and teachers really liked it. So when we updated to the new standards, we decided to also go towards a semesterized system. It makes it a lot easier for teachers to do long-range planning, because now they know the scope. I'm doing all of science or all of social studies within this one semester. So it helps them to keep on pace and do long-range planning. It also helps with just general instruction. It's good for kids because we're doing science and we're not bouncing back and forth and then having to review things because we've taken a break from one content to another. And then it also allows for better assessment of learning for kids, because what was happening was we would have a unit of social studies and then a unit of science in the same quarter, but one would only be about 2 weeks long. And that doesn't give teachers enough time to show mastery of learning for a report card grade, for instance. So we've gotten great feedback from teachers. They really like it. I think it's simplified their lives a lot. And we know that it's allowing for better instruction for kids. Within our social studies curriculum, we also have financial literacy and environmental literacy standards embedded within. For instance, in our financial literacy would be part of our economics unit. So in addition to our traditional economic concepts, such as scarcity and needs and wants and goods and services, financial literacy concepts of things like job and career exploration or making good economic choices, opportunity cost, developing savings and spending plans like budgets are also part of our economics units. And in environmental literacy, we focus, well, most of environmental literacy standards happen within the science curriculum or embedded within there. Social studies also has, within our geography strand, that human interaction with the environment, human-environment interaction is a strand that goes throughout the grades. And so we might look at how humans modify or impact the environment, both positive and negative ways, and how they protect it. And then last year, we were able to purchase a supplemental text for grades 4 and 5, which was the first time we purchased a text in social studies for many, many years. So it was a great upgrade into our classrooms. And it allows, it's just a supplemental text, so it's not being used every single day. It's not a program, but it provides that informational text where teachers can then reinforce language arts skills of reading informational text within the social studies block. So it just also extends their ELA instruction into the social studies block as well, allowing them to read informational text. Last summer, as part of our summer curriculum writing, we took the time to review and revise any existing resources that we have. We really are putting a focus on providing supports within the curriculum for our multilingual learner and special education students. A lot of that has to come with vocabulary resources that we've been putting in place, We worked with some of the multilingual teacher specialists to help to give us ideas about how we could do that. And a lot of it did focus on making sure there were proper graphic organizers in the curriculum, vocabulary resources, word wall cards, and things like that to provide. And we're going to continue that work this summer as well. We created some optional unit assessments as well for teachers, and we began the process of curating the high quality curriculum resources for grades 1 through 3. And that work is going to continue because curriculum is never done. Even though we'll be fully aligned, we'll be continuing that work and taking feedback from teachers on what needs to be revised next year. So all of our curriculum resources are available to teachers on Schoology and Curriculum Now. One of the things that we pride ourselves on is making it very, very simple for teachers. We know that there is a lot on the elementary school teacher's plate, and we use a ready-to-use student-facing resources for our teachers to limit the amount of time they need to use in order to plan for social studies instruction. They have a teacher planning tool. We call it the At a Glance. It's the one page that they need, and everything that they need, all the assignments, vocabulary resources, any slideshows, anything that they would need is on that one page. So it's a click away for them, literally. And we try to embed professional learning into those particular resources because time is limited. Dr. Cubitt did mention how time is a valuable resource, but we have limited time with our teachers, and social studies has very limited time with teachers. So as a way to offset that, we for teachers, but also provide anything within those resources that they might need, background information, teaching tips, and things like that right into the curricular resources for them. As a result, teachers do find our materials easy to use and put into place for students. And we've seen an increase in actual time taught for teaching. And I think it's because the resources we give them are so accessible to both students and teachers. So the liaison that we have, when I say we, I'm talking about social studies, myself and Dr. Horn in science and STEM. The liaison that we have with schools is our STEM teacher leader. And this is a leader that we meet with about 4 times a year. In the past year, it has been after school. And during that time with those teacher leaders, they're kind of our liaison to the schools, and we give them updates about science, social studies, and STEM. We make sure they are a liaison to get the information about any kind of STEM events or social studies or science events out there into the schools. We provide them professional learning to try and build them as leaders in instruction for social studies, science, and STEM. And they are often the people that are running science fairs and STEM events at their schools. So we provide support for them as well. I think Dr. Horn probably spoke to you about that last month as well. We have a long time partnership with the Frederick News Post, who puts on the yearly History Bee for schools. And it's open to any school, any elementary school in the county. And we've been trying to grow that program. And this year we have the most schools signed up to do that with 19 different elementary schools this year,
That's great.
which is really, really exciting. That's a great opportunity for kids to show off their knowledge and also like follow their passion for history, right? So it's those kids in those classes that are not the sports kid, but they really like trivia, and they really love history. This gives them an opportunity to dig in and showcase that in a competitive way. This year's competition will be held at Hope College on May 30th at 5 p.m. and it's open to the public. Another opportunity that we have for kids to kind of follow their passions and learn about something of their own interest
is our Science and Social Studies Fair. And this year, our Science and Social Studies Fair will be on March 23rd at Tuscarora High School. The best times to see kids' projects is between 9 and 11. Last year, we had the biggest fair we've ever had before, especially in social studies, where we went from having about 20 kids sign up to 160 last year. So it was incredible to see so many kids passionate about learning science and social studies, and then sharing that learning. And it gives them a unique opportunity to develop speaking and listening skills, and just presenting to another person. It was a great day. And this year we already have 40 kids signed up for social studies. So we're definitely on pace to keep going and get over 100 again. I attribute the increase in participation to the fact that we've made it very simple for families to do, and that kids can present their projects in any way they wish. They don't have to have a science backboard with all the stuff on it. If they want to just come and talk about something, they can, or if they just have a model of something or a picture of something. So it's low cost and easy, and not something that you have to go out and buy something for, but you can do the research and then be passionate about what you've learned. And the social studies subjects are, wide open. And then we also put some little information into the backpacks of kids, and I think that's a great way to get the communication out to families. And people are very, very interested in it. So really excited about that. As part of the STEM, or as part of the Science and Social Studies Fair, we have, I'm trying to figure out how many years this has been, I think 14, probably 15 years. We've also had a STEM showcase. So we have our Science and Social Studies Fair happening at the same time, and while the kids are not presenting, we do a STEM showcase, which allows a good transition into our STEM presentation. I oversee STEM as well. Erin Landsman is my STEM teacher specialist, and she takes the lead on many of the things that she's going to talk about today. She is both my left and right hand.
So thank you for the opportunity to talk and give an update about STEM. This year we expanded our computational thinking and computer science experiences in our elementary schools. With a generous donation from the Patel National Biodefense Institute, or BNBI, we were able to provide a set of coding robots known as bee-bots. So if you can picture a little robot that looks like a bee, these are our bee-bots that we put in our elementary schools. And that allowed us to get them into every school that didn't have them. What we were able then to do is, I had the pleasure of working with a team of library media specialists, and we built lessons to use those coding robots through our library media program. And then in fall of this year, we provided a professional learning experience to all of the library media specialists in elementary, with the goal that they would be able to implement these coding lessons and computational thinking lessons with all of our elementary school students. Ultimately, we're trying to begin that pipeline of computer science experiences in elementary to support our middle school and high school pathways that we have as well. In STEM, one of the things we continue to do is expand and build new partnerships. As I mentioned, BNBI is one of our long-term partners that funded our elementary bee-bots. This year, they also provided support so that we could offer STEM mini grants to our teachers and educators. Teachers were able to request materials of instruction they could use to enhance STEM in the classrooms or our extracurricular opportunities. To date, we've had 2 rounds of mini grants where we were able to provide around $70,000 worth of materials of instruction to our schools, and we're intending to offer a 3rd round this spring. Working with a company like BNBI has allowed us not only to enhance our STEM experiences for students, but also for our teachers. This winter, we took our middle school and our high school science department chairs over to their one-of-a-kind facility at Fort Detrick. And our teachers were able to talk with leading scientists in the field and then bring that experience back to students in their classroom. And it really was a good model of what a partnership can be with one of our local companies.
And Aaron, I want to emphasize too, for the members of the public, BMBI has been a long-standing partnership with us, and their cumulative grants are probably approaching $1 million. You're close to
They're
that?
around $700,000.
$700,000. So they've been committed year after year and have allowed us to do a lot of programming that we wouldn't otherwise be able to. And so just a real credit to them as a good big community partner here supporting what our students do. So yeah, 700,000 is nothing to sneeze at. We appreciate their support.
One way we also support STEM in our system is to develop new partnerships. So recently this year, we developed a partnership with the National Inventors Hall of Fame with a focus on summer experiences for students. The National Inventors Hall of Fame offers a program called Camp Invention, which is a summer camp experience that focuses on innovation, invention, creativity in the arts, engineering, and science. And we're pleased to share that this summer we have several schools that will be participating with this program and offering it up for our students. We even had a school last year, Butterfly Ridge, that was able to field test the new program that would be released by the National Inventors nationwide for this year. So our teachers and students got to be part of that innovation process and give feedback that would improve the program that gets released this summer. So that was a great experience for our students. At the end of last school year, we were able to develop a partnership with the Cal Ripken Senior Foundation that allowed us to put in 2 STEM centers in our elementary schools, specifically Tuscarora and Whittier Elementary. Each of these STEM centers received materials of instruction to enhance STEM. For example, they had engineering and building kits, coding robots, they received snap circuits, and they received tables and chairs, or they could go mobile and have carts that would allow them to move the materials around the building. Our teachers received professional learning from the Cal Ripken Foundation that supported the use of those materials and their curricular resources. And with continued funding from a local business partner, Edgewater Federal Solutions, and a grant that the Cal Ripken Foundation received, we will be adding 3 new STEM centers this school year, and they will be at Monocacy, Hillcrest, and Walkersville Elementary Schools.
That's great.
Another way that we support STEM in our system is by helping our teachers design and then implement clubs and offer enrichment opportunities at their schools. We provide a checkout system of materials. So all teachers in our system have access to resources and instructional equipment such as additional coding robots that they can then borrow from us. So this would be equipment that you wouldn't need to use on a daily basis, but it increases access for all of our schools to borrow these materials and then enhance STEM experiences in the classroom. And finally, part of our vision is that our students connect with the local community and that we share outside experiences. So throughout the year, we host STEM events, such as a STEM tent at the Great Frederick Fair, or the STEM showcases Kim mentioned at our science fair. And these opportunities allow us to showcase some of the internal STEM programming that we have, such as our outdoor school, the Earth and Space Science Lab, and our Career and Technology Center, and share those opportunities with our community and our students. But it also allows us to showcase relationships that we have with outside organizations, such as the Frederick County Public Library, the Maryland STEM Festival, Mobilize Frederick. And then at these events, we have hands-on experiences for kids with ultimately the goal to get them excited about STEM, feel challenged with problem solving, and then be able to see themselves hopefully in a potential STEM career in the future. Thank you.
Any questions about elementary social studies and STEM?
Really outstanding, and I feel I did not know very much at all about what we're doing in STEM at the elementary level. I'm impressed what we're doing with social studies at the elementary level. a question that stays with me is the semester system of alternating social studies and science, I think based on everything you've said, makes a lot of sense at upper elementary. I have some concerns around doing this at kindergarten and first grade. It feels like, I feel like I've read just developmentally just how long time is perceived, right, by our youngest learners. And so, yeah, I don't know, like in kindergarten, if they have, say, social studies content in the fall and then not have it again in first grade till the fall or perhaps even the spring, it feels like even more time. And so has that been an issue at all?
It hasn't. And one of the reasons it hasn't been an issue is because our language arts program has modules that are science and social studies as well. They're content, some of them are content based. So while we may not be doing our social studies block at a certain time of year, they are still reading and learning about different social studies topics in language arts.
Kim, I think I've heard directly from teachers too, especially our kindergarten teachers, that some of the social studies concepts, like family and neighborhood and some of those things that come in early, can be easily applied to this new learning environment they're in. Like we're in our own neighborhood here. So I remember my kindergarten teachers really wanting to emphasize some of the concepts that occur in social studies early on. But yeah, I wouldn't underestimate what Kim's saying about the actual content in language arts. We specifically, and Jen Ralston, who's our English language arts curriculum specialist, specifically purchase high quality instructional materials that have a lot of science and social studies content in that, because we know from science reading principles that acquisition of content is very important for reading proficiency. So those materials are filled with those types of, and in the arts as well. The arts is also represented in some of that content. So that kind of helps sustain the learning as we move through.
Thank you.
I have a couple things. Thank you so much for the presentation. I wish Mr. J were here because I think some of this is right up his alley. So I'm going to try to channel some of that in. One thing when we're talking about our summer programming with STEM, are we doing anything in direct connection with FCC and the Kids on Campus program? Because I see a lot of opportunity for collaboration or just dovetailing offerings, because they're not FCC students, Kids on Campus. They're more than likely our students, right. FCPS students going there. And so I just want to know how much collaboration there is going on.
None of my knowledge.
I think it might be an opportunity to have a discussion.
In what way are you thinking?
Well, to make sure that whatever FCC is offering, matches up with, what our strengths are with FCPS, and like, is there any way to offer joint programming or marketing to, of kids? I don't know. Let's talk about collaboration, because they're not like traditional FCC students, but it's a big program and their kids running all over that campus all summer.
Do you have a sense of how many students participate in that?
A lot. They're there.
Talking
It's like
hundreds,
overrun.
Is it overrun? They're everywhere.
They all have
Every time I turn
t-shirts,
around.
and they don't sit still.
Maybe you could send me the contact information, whoever oversees the program.
I actually think it's Heather Hinkle, who's a former FCPS
I
teacher.
know Heather.
Yeah, I kind of been disconnected from there for a while, but if we're not having good discussions with them about leveraging opportunities in terms of what maybe FCPS could potentially help with assisting FCC, and maybe what FCC could be doing to help assist FCPS. So.
Well, Heather and I go way back. I'll reach out to her and see what we see.
Perfect. All right, then
Absolutely.
they already got the contact in there. Are we doing anything to show extra love to Battelle for their long-term support? Because we beg, borrow. Well, not begging. We don't borrow, but I feel like a lot of times we go begging for money. And
talk about how we.
Do they feel that we love them for what they do, and do we give them enough recognition? Because I think having that sense of appreciation makes a big difference. I don't want to have that expectation of they've been a long-term partner and we expect that. We need to ensure that we're showing gratitude. And I don't know if there's anything, at what level do we need to bring that to, can we,
They're always part of every year there's a partnership booklet that the
Mhm.
FCPS, but they're always showcased in their
Prominently.
front and center.
Okay.
Because they are one of our
That's
biggest
the annual
partners.
partnerships report that we
Right.
place out.
Yeah, so definitely, you'll see them as long as we've done that booklet, they
Yeah.
have been part of that. And we also, well, Erin can talk a little bit about some of the newsletters that she does to update them on what's happening and how we celebrate, in a public way,
Okay.
what they're doing.
So we've sent out several press releases about some of the new programs that we've done. I share a newsletter with them that includes things that are happening in the schools that they were part of bringing into our school system. We also have had in the past a celebration where our larger grant recipients, our schools that receive larger grants from them, we bring them in, we have cake, balloons, we celebrate. Employees from the NBI come and interact with our teachers and students to really help them see the impact that they're having in their support of STEM education.
Okay.
We meet with them frequently,
I'm glad to hear this.
Frequently.
and they are in our schools. They go out and see our students, and it really is a good example of a partnership that we have.
And teachers have their kids write thank you letters and things like that too.
This, again, that makes all the difference, is just to ensure that we're showing our gratitude and the result of what their investment is,
Yeah.
In the partnership. So thank you for that. And then,
And Ms. Johnson,
Yes.
I'll say in our interactions with the NBI, they see it as an investment more than they do it just a donation. I mean, they really do feel like, I think they're partners for the work that we do. And I want to thank our team for making sure that they understand the impact. It's one thing to, donate. It's another thing to get all the feedback back about, how students are experiencing the benefit of being in a partnership with them.
super. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up like this, how broadly known the FIRST Robotics is, and what are we doing to expand that? Because I don't see it at many of our schools. I think we run something through, I know there's a program in Tuscarora. I know there's like a 4-H, I believe there's a 4-H robotics team that does FIRST, and I don't know if they're affiliated with any of our schools, but like how many schools do we have that are actively participating in FIRST? Because not only from the experience students get, but the scholarship monies that students have access to by participating in that program can be life-changing. So can you just share about like where we're going with that? How many schools have that?
Sure, we have a team at Urbana High School, Tuscarora, Frederick High, TJ High, and one that runs out of the Thurmont area. Am I missing any? And Brunswick doesn't have FIRST, but they have a tech challenge
Okay.
team out there. We have a VEX program over at Oakdale. So we have quite a few teams. If you're familiar with FIRST, you know it's very expensive. The teachers who run those clubs, they do have a stipend through the FCTA contract. But the actual programming for that particular program, it costs $6,000 a year, and that's just to sign up and get the materials. There's a lot of other costs as well. So we always reach out. We know all the names of the coaches for those teams, and we always reach out whenever we do have mini grant opportunities, like our BNBI grants or our challenge grants, and they always write grants. In fact, we've actually trained them really well to write grants now, because they do it quite well, and they often get money through the grant opportunities that we can just offer with in-house. I know that the MSDE has also, for the last couple of years, offered robotics grants, and they take advantage of those. We try to support them in any way we can. We give them the opportunity. Part of the program is for them to actually reach out. And so they are often showcased at the different events that we do, such as Great Frederick Fair and STEM Showcase. And that does support them in many ways, because it gives them public access, which also could create donors, but it also helps them with the program, and they are required to do as being a FIRST participant. They have to do reach out as well. So we act as a liaison for those teachers. we try our best to provide them at the opportunities to get their programs off the ground. And just because Frederick High has a team, doesn't mean that a Brunswick kid couldn't go to Frederick High to be part of that team. And that's a lot of the way that Catoctin Feeder One does, because kids from Linganore and Walkersville and Catoctin all are on that team.
Mhm.
So that we have grown in the last couple of years with that, but funding is always a challenge for those teams, and we try and find as much as we can and push it their way.
Maybe a staff member at the school that's willing to take on that kind of extra.
And of course, you
Yeah,
need a
there is a
staff
staff
That's a
member.
big commitment, and I know once they release the challenge, whatever, January 6th, then it's like all hands on deck
It's
to
all
build
in.
your robot for 60 days. But this kind of began a periphery of someone who was involved with that and seeing the impact it had on their life. And the skills from welding to programming to financial management to marketing, just really, I think, and then the subsequent scholarship money that was awarded, after that, I think, again, it's investment we make in our learners so that they can go out and be tomorrow's leaders. And so I don't know what else we can do to support that. It kind of dovetails if we have like half the schools, actively engaged in a FIRST robotics program in the high school. Going back to the history B, it's nice to hear that we have, what you said, 19?
Yeah.
It's almost
schools.
half,
Okay, so how do we get to 38? I mean, elementary schools, are we building a new one? I don't know. We're at 38? I don't know.
One of the reasons we have so many this year is because a history club stipend for teachers was implemented last year as
Okay.
part of the FCTA contract. And it matters because otherwise, traditionally, elementary school teachers have done after-school clubs
Mhm.
by donating their time.
Right.
And so that leveraged that for teachers. And so that's why we do have a lot more. It's not a lot. It's not paying them pennies for the hours that they put in, but it's something, and they appreciate that. And so, because they want to do, a lot of them were doing it for free before.
Just a
So
recognition.
it's a recognition, it's just saying, thank you for valuing me. You understand that I am putting my time out
So
here.
could
And-
we expand this?
so
Where are we
we're
at with
working
the
on
money?
it, yeah, so we added a few more. Next year, I reached out to a couple who are not doing History B, and they said, I think I'll do it next year. So it's about building those relationships with teachers too. And so as we find the different people, I'll go, we put the
Right. And so
Yeah.
we've added stipends at the elementary for, in
STEM,
addition to
as well.
History B. It was like a STEM.
couple of
And so it could be
examples.
used for a number of different
Yes.
activities. It's kind of a general stipend. So Destination Imagination or Team still,
Yeah,
Being built
Definition
in.
Imagination was added. We added a stipend for a STEM advisor at the elementary level. They can run any type of STEM club. We added a robotics club stipend that supports elementary and middle school stipends, which hopefully will increase the number of our elementary and middle school programs in robotics, which will then feed into our high schools and also increase the demand for those and maybe some of the schools that don't have them right now as well.
some of this kind of catches on, Ms. Johnson, in the sense that
Mhm.
my friend who works over another school has taken on the stipend, is doing the History B. We have a conversation in the grad class. Oh, I didn't even know they had a stipend. I think I'm going to do that at my school. So I think that's the way we
Sure.
see
Organic
these
growth.
grow, is by word of mouth and having an infrastructure in place to support that.
Okay. And then kind of one thing that I think is important to us on the board is, equity of our program offerings. So, and sure, would you agree with that? Okay, yeah, so, we'd like to make sure that the programs reach as many of our students as possible. So we don't develop pockets of like opportunities that are only available at certain schools. So
Yeah,
I think
and
it's.
maybe that's some of the PR related things that we could do. We could get a communication out to our school leaders early maybe in the spring, just to remind school principals and staff members that these stipends are available. And, if you want help getting that up and running, to reach out to our team. I think a good refresh in the spring as they start thinking ahead to next year, and maybe follow that up with a communication in the fall that, remember, these stipends are available, would be a good way to approach that.
How about a systemic goal of,
Yeah, we So I think we could think about that.
25 schools or 30 schools,
Yeah.
you know, and work on ways to achieve that. I don't know, just stopping and reflecting on how can
I'm
we
sure the team will.
continue to roll that out.
I think you're right. In fact, we just talked last week, there was a FNP article about the first competition at Urbana. We were kind of
First
reflecting,
robotics.
yeah.
Yeah.
we were sort of reflecting on what level of, the stipends that are being taken versus the stipends that are going unfilled. And then what level of central support is available, central infrastructure. So I really think you're seeing kind of the leading edge right now. We have teacher champions in some schools, but not all. But we have the infrastructure of a stipend in every school. I think looking ahead a couple of years, I see a future that's much more systematic in these kinds of opportunities, the way that we're able to sort of nurture and grow and support those teacher champions, which is one of the big ingredients.
Early adopters or
Yeah.
whatever. kind of roll
Absolutely.
out.
I think it's what you're seeing now.
Yeah.
And I think people, again, word of mouth. So, maybe we have a system in place where if you are thinking about doing robotics, we facilitate for a way to you to get down and see it happen at the school. So maybe we do an early release for a teacher to go down and visit and see that happening at Urbana. Is this something you could take back to your school? There's lots of ways that our staff can facilitate that. But I like the term systematic that you use, Scott, because not only are these are certainly extracurricular, but they really draw in a lot of interesting coursework, right? And those are the key
Right.
pathways we want to build is what's the computational thinking story for a student from elementary to high school. So I think all of these things very much interconnect with what we feel our curricular goals are, and it sounds like those are common to you as board members. So definitely a place for us to look for some improvement.
So like bottoming out something, like starting an initiative, getting your early adopters on, rolling it out, but now like on, the history beat, how do we get that? So it's part of our core, core extracurricular activity available at every elementary school and utilized. I think it's important, but I'm just speaking as an individual board member, but I'd hate to see if someone moves, within Frederick County, like, I'm moving from a townhouse to a house. Oh, what? We don't have a history beat,
Yeah.
So I just find that just one of the things that anything that we can do to keep our playing fields level for wherever you're at in our system. And I know later today we'll be looking at potentially expanding a weight room facility at one of our schools, and I'm conflicted about it because it's in a community that has more affluence than other parts of the county. So when we think about boosters fundraising for this, I love it because it's improving facilities, but it's coming at the hands of the community and families in that school community that have an advantage that other schools don't. And so it's conflicted. So I want to make sure that we're kind of like with artificial turf fields. We started with one and then it was struggling, to get it out everywhere. So thank you, Jane Gardner, and Dr. Weaver for getting the money for making sure we have turf fields everywhere. So it's trying to just get that equity balance.
So we are running a little short on time, but we
Okay.
do have secondary social studies. If you don't mind, we can switch
Yep.
that. Holly Bernard, you're
I
on.
miss curriculum and instruction, can you tell?
Yeah.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. So I'm going to jump right in with the curriculum highlights for secondary social studies. Over the past 8 years, MSTE has engaged in the cycle of review and revision of core courses and state standards. We've already experienced those changes in the bulk of our core program, American Studies 1, American Studies 2, Government and Online History. We've been anxiously awaiting for a number of years new standards in grades 6 and 7, new frameworks, I should say, in grades 6 and 7 based on new state standards. Those frameworks were approved by the State Board of Education last month, and they have been released to LEAs to now move on with our implementation plans. I can speak just cursory to the implementation plan here. We're looking at a 2-year implementation, starting first with our 6th grade and then with our 7th grade the next year. And right now the target years are 2026, 6th grade, easy to remember, and 2027, 7th grade. We have historical continuity in our current program, so we want to ensure that the students that are already in that pipeline with 6th grade ancient world history continue that. And then as we bring on the new program, Our next group of sixth graders in 2026 will experience the new curriculum, which is very much, it's lens from a totally different social science, and that is geography versus history. So it is still world history content, but it's being lensed through geographic understandings. And that is going to take some time to build, both the curricular, the essential curriculum, identifying the curricular resources, and really most importantly, preparing our teachers to deliver that content. It is a curriculum that, it's a curriculum lens that we actually had when I first started teaching here in Frederick County Public Schools. 6th and 7th grade were both geography based courses, and then shifted away from that a few years later. New frameworks will be the primary focus, as you can imagine, of the curriculum work for the next few years as we develop the local essential curriculum, the new assessments, select and purchase new instructional resources, and plan to deliver the significant professional learning that's going to be required. HQIM is going to weigh into this. We've been told by MSDE to expect an HQIM rubric for social studies sometime this year. Until we have the rubric in hand, it's going to be difficult to assess its impact on our overall social studies program resources. If you recall, a number of years ago, we untethered from the single narrative that is a textbook. And we moved to the integration of open educational resources to really augment and expand the narrative and access to high quality, to resources for our students. We are unsure at this point how HQIM is going to address the use of open educational resources. I've asked the question, I haven't received an answer, but the question is on their minds down at the State Department. So once we receive the rubric, we've been told there'll be a draft rubric for us to review before it goes live. So we're anxiously awaiting that.
Colleen, if I recall, a lot of the OER that you're accessing right now are moving towards kids accessing primary source documents as well. And so, let's go back to the original documents that we're discussing, and the importance of being a literate historian and social science person is to be able to go to that. So that interplay between HQIM and OER is going to be a big question that the states they're going to have to answer for us, or at least allow us to answer for ourselves.
Exactly. It really is that access to those robust primary sources that you don't get in a textbook. It is that inquiry approach to instruction, having students investigate the historical narrative and construct their understanding based on reasoned judgment, which is evidence from the historical record. That is the shift that we made a number of years ago in our program. The state made that shift in their frameworks, and you see that borne out at the beginning of their frameworks where they talk about the inquiry arc. And you see that in the enduring understandings and the essential questions that are in those frameworks, and that we have transferred over into our frameworks as well. Okay. I think I hit everything there. Moving to elective courses, social studies has robust offerings of elective courses, and we continue to expand these offerings through the creation of new courses and access to dual enrollment courses. Currently, if I get my math correct, there are 22 non-AP elective courses in the social studies section of the course catalog for high school, and then 9 AP elective courses, 3 of which can swap out for a core course. So that's what we offer, and then we have a number of dual enrollment courses as well. As you know, last year was the inaugural year of our Black and African American Studies course. This course ran in 9 of 10 high schools, and our virtual school option provided opportunity for students anywhere in the county to access the course content through the virtual program. So even if the course wasn't running in a particular school, it could be accessed through the virtual school program. We did have a number of students access, a handful of students access last year through the virtual school program. Just to give you an update on numbers, last year's enrollment was 161 students. We originally had 200 students registered at the beginning of the year for the course. By January, that dropped to 172, which is which is pretty common in high school as students do schedule changes and such. So we were up 11 students overall at this time who were enrolled in the course. Just to give you some context, our most popular course of psychology has 615 students enrolled this year, and sociology, our number 2 course, is 573. So almost 200 students in a fairly new elective is a good number, and certainly something that the teachers of the course are working to increase.
Can I ask a brief question? So is the idea then that we are trying to strive for approaching 200 and more, or is the idea that we may not have all the teachers to support that and the 160, 170 is, I don't know, the right amount right now?
We've been really fortunate to have been able to ensure that the course runs in as many schools as possible. In no high school has the course been cut because of staffing. We've been able to allocate staff appropriately, and we actually worked in particular in having a teacher work at 2 different schools in order to be able to accommodate teachers willing to do that. The virtual school, as well as one of our regular comprehensive high schools, in order to accommodate students for the course. Our goal overall is for, Black history is American history, is for it to live in the core program. And so we've worked extensively, and that's why we've leveraged OER into our core program, where we're pulling resources from the Reginald F. Lewis Museum in Baltimore, from the African American History Museum, from ARCH, from Stanford History Educational Group. All of those resources allow us to have a robust, wider narrative of the American experience. So ultimately, when we're talking about this course allows our students to do a deeper dive into African American history and studies. It's not just the history component, it's that broader narrative of the entirety of the Black and African American experience in America that we're trying to get at. We would absolutely love to see enrollment increase, but enrollment in any elective course is always dependent on students registering and being able to get the course into their schedule. Last year, remember, if you recall, we did expand that opportunity to 10th graders, and that I think may have helped as well to increase our enrollment.
Yeah, we want to anytime we have a new elective, we want to prioritize, does everybody get access to it? And do we have enough sections to meet demand? I think demand will probably grow over time as, again, word of mouth gets out. Hey, I took that course, it's great. But right now we're keeping pace with student interest, which is good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Next is our women's history course. And so last year, our summer work group finished the outline of the frameworks for that course, and you'll actually be seeing the standards for that course next month. So that'll move forward. That was in our course catalog this fall. I don't have enrollment figures. We won't see those until March. That's usually traditionally when we see them from our high schools. Over the next few years, we're going to be working on an update of all of our elective course curricula. As I said, we have 22. All that will need a refresh. One that is up first is going to be a 0.545 to the present. I anticipate bringing that to the board next year for implementation the following year. It pairs nicely with that health credit in the junior year. And it also helps us with the issue of not, our teachers often struggle to get to the end, right? The end, the present day in American history, the present day in modern world history. And so that course very nicely emphasizes from 1945 to the present period for students to take a deeper dive. That's it. Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program. So this year is the first year of the end of course exam in government. This year, the 20% overall course grade is only calculated for 9th grade students taking the course. That's a handful of students. Since the course is traditionally taught in 10th grade, we have only a handful of those students that are subject to that 20%. However, all students in government courses must sit for a government assessment. So in our core program, our core government class, it's the MCAP. In our AP government class, the AP exam will suffice for the assessment requirement for graduation. Next year, we anticipate the 20% calculation will apply to most of our government course participants. The only outliers would be like 11th and 12th grade transfer students, where it doesn't apply to them. This year, we also received our first data from our 8th grade MCAP assessment. It's important to note that this is only the second year of that test administration, with the spring being the third. But we feel that the data from last spring's administration provides a solid baseline upon which we can grow. And shout out to Dr. Vetter's department who are working with us to create some new dashboards so that we can really dig deep into that data and help support the instruction for our teachers.
Polly, if I can just jump in real quick. Sure. Can I present two options to the board here as we get to the 12 o'clock time? I want to be respectful of your time and staff time. We could either plow through, go probably about 10 minutes over, maybe 15.
And one question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we could also push the last part of her presentation to a future meeting. I just wanted to throw that out as we.
I think that's a good conversation to have. That's my apologies because I guess I'm, the liaison who runs the meetings. I've not lost track of time, but like
It's very
it's good
interesting.
stuff. Like, it's good stuff. Yes. But I think really I have no concern about from taking a pause right here and picking it up because I want to be mindful of everybody's time.
Yeah, I don't want to rush. I'm
Yeah,
looking
it's
ahead
not-
to some of the content and there's
Just
some good
one-
stuff here.
Just wonder, would it be at the March meeting?
Yeah,
What would we
I think
look
we
at?
could juggle the calendar a little bit to pick up right where we were. There are three things on the March meeting. We might want to consider moving one of those, but I'll get with my team and adjust
Yeah.
the schedule.
And please accept my apologies for, I don't feel like I think all the conversation we're having is appropriate and vital.
Absolutely.
So.
I guess my only thing would be, I would want to hear it in the March meeting. If we waited for April or May,
No,
I feel like we'd have to
wanna,
start
pick up
over
where we
again.
left off,
So-
Like when we start our next meeting.
The only thing it might, and we'll let you know when we, in advance, I can email you, but it looks like we might want to just move one of the March presentations a little bit later. And that leaves room. Again, we don't want to crowd the agenda so everybody's rushing, but we can
Yeah.
cascade some of the agenda items down too. Again, these aren't our presentations. These are yours.
Mhm.
So if you want to take time and you have key questions and, you can come to understand the work that we do and support that as board members, that's what we're here for. So I'd rather not rush Colleen. I'd rather not throw the day off, but take some time, come back. And what we'll do is when she comes back in March, she'll do a quick rundown of the previous slides to refresh our memory, and then she'll spend more
Okay.
time. And then you can spend time asking the questions that you have.
For that.
excellent.
I would rather us
Okay.
have the time to
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
unpack. There's so much here than for us to have to rush through it.
Yeah.
That works.
Okay.
That prepares
Okay.
you as board members in these key topics. And so I think taking the time is what we should do.
I
Sound
think
good?
That's wise.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
We'll pick up. where we
Yeah.
left off.
Thank you all. You guys are free to run the plan. If you want to, our last item is to look at the schedule. And so picking up, it looks like for the next meeting, we have scheduled the curriculum review, 2 courses, pilot courses. That comes every year to CNI in March to let you know that what courses we're considering, if there's any curriculum changes. We have advanced academics, which would be a substantive presentation. It's going to take a good bit of time. In media, what we may end up doing is just moving media down. And we would probably cascade personalized learning innovation team to a later time. So we should be able to get through all of our topics by the end of June.
I guess the one, and it's probably a non-factor, but I think it'll be online, right? I don't think we'll be in the boardroom.
Yeah, that's right. That's so.
Yeah, I think all of our meetings are supposed to move to virtual, and I think it's just 2. I think it's only the March and April meeting, depending on if things go
Because I
well.
think,
Is it more?
May.
Maybe May as well.
wow,
Because May's meeting is May first.
May 1st.
Oh, okay.
Well, but I guess, I just wanted to make sure to say that since it'll be a presentation then in a different medium, but I don't know. I don't think we have a choice on.
We actually,
Where-
CNI actually functions very well in the virtual environment. We learned that during the COVID period.
Yeah.
We just, the same protocol goes in place. We go through the procedure. The board's been great about kind of saving questions to when we get to the question components. And so the virtual space actually works pretty well. We pause, ask you for questions, versus,
It's
a
on my
meeting,
li-
a meeting where
It's
hands are
a lot
going up
fun.
all the time, that kind of thing. So So I think it should work out fine, the virtual space. We're actually pretty good at that. And of course, it records very easily for the public as well.
It would be better, of course.
You'll let us know though, which we're like you said, maybe movie media.
I'm pretty sure
updates.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be, we're gonna probably move
And then that would
media
move
down,
personalized.
learning innovation team down.
Learning.
And I think we should be able to fit that into May 1, and then May 4, we may drop community schools down into June 12. So we'll come
You
back.
know
with a
what, I
proposed
actually think
change.
that, I would actually, well, yeah, I think that that's a good plan.
All right.
Okay, so.
Adjourn.
Gavel.
All right.
Gavel.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you.